Welcome to iReady 101. We will be going through iReady, which is our assessment system, as if you were doing this for the first time. So let's get into it. First log in with your credentials. Make sure you select Florida for your state. First thing you're going to do when you start is go to management. I'm going to show you how to first find your windows, diagnostic windows. Go in, scroll down, boom. There are your diagnostic windows. Now, we do mention these multiple times throughout the year, but if you're looking for it, you forgot the date, here's a good place to find it. All right. Next thing, you're going to go into classes. I'm going to select the school only because I'm in an admin setting, so I see multiple schools at once, but your school should automatically be there. We're going to use Winston as a good example. They've got multiple classes in here. They've got their one for this year. We're going to make a demo class just for today, but add a class, create a class. We're going to call this demo. You're going to select a grade. Generally, if you're doing it as a whole, you don't have to select a grade, but you also can separate your classes by grade and by day. So if you want to do that, that option is here. So if you have Monday, Wednesday's group, you could do this and then select to save and continue. You can also do only kindergarten. You can do only first grade, only second grade. But that's however you want. This is customizable. Same thing you can also do the whole class and then later do reporting groups that will separate it by class or by grade or by day. The system generally will allow you to separate by grade anyway, just as it pulls reports, that's the default. But if you want to separate by like Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, you can add a reporting group for that. We're gonna just save and continue from here because technically this is the beginning of the year and we're not adding students yet. So we're gonna save and continue. We do want to choose our teacher. It should be you. Doreen is our Winston coordinator, so we're gonna add both of her logins to that. I think she only uses one, but I add both just in case. Save and close. So now we have that demo class here. We don't have any students here. We're gonna go into the student tab, which you can get to from here. Student, and this is where we're gonna add our new students. Now, before you add students, make sure you go through and check to see if there are any students that have returned or have ever been in the system. Always check to see if the student's name is here first and that it's the correct information. So check the student, check their grade level, check their information. This is why it's important to put the date of birth, because when you go back in, then you'll be able to tell whether that student is in here. That way you don't have duplicates. So like this kid, they're in here twice as a fourth grader. That's because someone did not, when they initially put them in, they didn't add their date of birth. And so now they didn't check to see if this kid was already in the system. So now he's a duplicated student. It's unnecessary. So if you just go ahead and check, it will save you a lot of trouble. You'll see in the corner here under grade that some of them have ninth graders in there. That's because once the kid's in the system, they stay there. And so this is why we go back and check, because when you come in to see if the student's in there, it'll say, I don't know, Marisol in ninth grade. It'll go to that next year. So if you started her last year and then you came back to find her this year, and last year she was in third grade, when you come back, it'll say fourth grade. So it does graduate them in the system. If for some reason they didn't get graduated or they didn't move on to the next grade, when you go to add this new student, or excuse me, this returning student, you can edit that student information to change the grade, add the date of birth, all of that can be updated here. You can also change the password here. You can also add a new class here. So that class that we made before, if you wanted to add this student to that class, you can do it from here. And you can also add your reporting group from here. So to add a student that was in there, not excuse me, not a new student, to add a student from a previous year, you would just go in, update their information, and change their class and add them to your new classroom. And then they will turn blue once you do that. Blue students are students that are already enrolled for this year and in the current class. These are all any student that's blue, that's an active student. To add a new student, we're going to go to Action, Student, and I'm just going to add a demo name in here just for the purpose of adding a student. For the purpose of training. This I usually do either their ounce number or their student ID. Ounce numbers is perfectly fine. It's less numbers, and it still makes it easy for you to find that kid. Again, you want to make sure you're putting that I don't know, make sure you're putting that date of birth in here. Oops, excuse me. 2015. Sorry, I cannot type today. There we go. All right. And then your school should automatically pop up, but because I'm in an admin login, I'll have to select her school, but then make sure you select that kid's grade. All right, this kid is 10. I don't know. What is that, fourth grade? Just guessing. Then you want to do for their username something simple. I generally do their first name, last initial, and then their grade. And then for the password, I usually use YReads lowercase. However, if you're worried about kids accidentally logging into someone else's account, which is possible, it has happened before, you can use something like their first and last initial uppercase and then their ounce number. You can make it a little bit more complicated. Developmental levels, this is if you have a student who is documented ESE or special education. If they are, say, they should be in the fourth grade, but they're in the second grade, you can adjust that here. It's not mandatory though. You do not have to do that, but this is available to you. Move forward. You can skip the demographics. I like to use it because it helps to keep track of all that information just in case it needs to be pulled. It's another way of collecting it. You don't have to fill it out the whole thing, but you can add that information. Then from here, you would choose the class that we chose, and we chose demo. So we move that demo kit into demo, and then you would save it. I'm not gonna, well, I'm gonna save it now. Then you can choose your reporting group. So this is what I was saying before. If you created reporting groups like Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, you can add them here. And then you would save and close them out. And then they would end up in the system blue. I'm not going to save it just for here. That way I don't have to delete this student. But that is how you add a new student. Once you save them, they pop up blue here. And again, all of their information is here and you're able to edit as you need to. Reporting groups as well. Once you have added all of your students, you can individually add them by class. Or if for some reason you add students later or you forget to add the student to a class, you can go back to the class section, go into our demo class. There's our demo kid. And then edit student enrollment, and then you can select all of the students that you would like to add into here. And then save it, and you would add those students to your class, and they'll show up blue for that section. This is how you delete a class. So if for some reason you make one on accident, you can delete it here. I'm going to do that now since our demo class is not real. And here is where you would go and add any report groups. You can export a PDF, excuse me, not PDF, a Excel version of your passwords here. You can also go into your class. So we can do Doreen's from today, from this year, and you can do a PDF version here. It'll download it for you, and then you can print them. I suggest doing that once you're done enrolling once you're done enrolling your kids, print out the passwords. It's good to have multiple copies on site. That way, when you guys start to test, more than one adult can help these kids log in. All right, that's how you enter in groups and students. Let's go into assessments. This is the most important part of the system because this is how you set up the kids' assessments. It doesn't do it automatically, except for when you first enroll them. Generally, when you first enroll them, it automatically gives them a test. If it does not, I will show you in just a second on how to enroll them. But generally, it does in the beginning of the year. When you first enroll them, it starts them off with a test. But if not, I'll show you how to do that. Okay, under assessment, the first thing you'll see is resources. This is where you can get a list of the tools of instructions. This is all of the different standards and skills that the kids need to learn per grade. And you can also do it by domain. So all of the iReady expectations, all of the standards of Florida reading expectations, all of that is here and connected to a grade for you. You can click on these and it'll bring up a lesson that you can use to teach that thing. I like to use these to give out to parents. I give them as extra practice for after different assignments, after SIPs. If you're looking for something specific, you can go down this list. All of this stuff is in here for you guys to use. Super helpful if you need additional support on the things that the students need to learn through iReady. If you click this drop-down box, you can get to any of those sections quickly. There's Spanish versions. There's specifically for comprehension. There's fluency practice. And you can also get to the diagnostic assessments through here. But we're going to go back here for that right now. Assessments, diagnostic. Here is where you can run a status report. It lets you know who's finished and who's not. You can also assign here. So like I said before, if you enroll a student and they need one and it doesn't automatically assign it initially, you can assign here. Mid-year when you getting ready for testing, you want to come in here and assign those tests. I think our window is January 5th is when it opens. You would need to go in and assign an assessment for each of your students. You can do it by school, which it'll automatically pull up your school. You can do by class, which it'll pull up the class that you have, all the classes you have underneath your name, and you can select the correct class. You can do it by a recording group. So if you're only doing Monday and Wednesdays tests right now, you can do Wednesdays tests. You can also do it by individual students. So if you had a new student that needs to test, you can go in and select that student only and assign a test to them. So let's go. I think our demo student is still in here. You can look through the list like this, or you can type in names if you're looking for a student. I didn't save that particular student, so he's no longer available. But you'd be able to type in either the name, their student ID, search by grade, search by class. You can assign through that. Again, through class, we're at Winston. You could select that class and it'll assign everybody under that class. All right, cancel. So if for some reason you accidentally assign one, you can go in here, select either the individual student, individual group, class, your school, and cancel the current diagnostic for that student. You don't need to worry about growth monitoring. This is something we don't really use. As a matter of fact, it's turned off, so you don't have to worry about that. We don't deal with the in-class stuff that they do for iReady. We just use it as the diagnostics. So you won't need to worry about growth monitoring as far as assigning a test. The next assessment you're going to look at is literacy tasks. This is not a requirement, at least not yet, but you can go in here and assign an assessment for either benchmark or for progress monitoring. Let's look at benchmark. Assign You can assign or administer, whichever. Um, but you'll be able to select a task or state screening based on whatever is available to you. And they have different times of the year that you can select it for. We would be in this time bracket only because our window opens generally for iReady in January for mid-year, but these can be given throughout the year. Again, these are not required, so you can check these at any time. Um, we're looking into figuring out how to use these as a way to pull that phonological awareness score that we need for our students, because after third grade, they no longer are assessed in phonological awareness. So we're working on a way to figure out how to get this open for us to do the phonological awareness testing for our students. It's going to be a process, so it's not something you need to worry about right now, but if you would like to go in and assess the student throughout the year, here's a good way to do that. All right, let's go into reporting. Reporting is where you're going to be able to pull all of your reports and see all of the information prior to the tests, all of the statuses for the assessments, all of that. If we go first, you can go by school or district, so it'll just pull your school information. You can go by class, which again, it's the class that you set. You can go by student, and you can also, this batch section, which I'll show you in just a second, you'll be able to go in here and look at any reports you've pulled, because sometimes it takes a little minute, so it'll send it to the batch folder, and you'll be able to go there and pull all of those things that you've requested, all of the reports you've requested. So let's look at status first. This is where you'll go and see for your school. And again, Winston is our school, so we're going to click Winston. You're going to go and see who needs to test. Now, they've got a diagnostic window starting pretty soon. So right now, they've got 100% of their students that have an assigned assessment that have not taken it yet. So as soon as you start, everybody who has an assessment that's in your class, it will pop up, or it'll tell you that that group is not assigned. So this is based on just the grade right now, but you can also do it by class, pull that same report, or by report group. Remember, I said that if you wanted to do Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, that report group would show up here. But let's look at her class. Click here. Again, no one has started because these are the new ones that have been assigned for mid-year. You'll be able to click on each student to view their test. Right now, the current test that they're showing is the last one that they took. So that's how you get to an individual student. You go through their status and you can click the student's name. Generally, that will take you to the student's information and any test that they've ever taken. Another way to look at this, if you click this drop-down box, it'll bring up a time frame of when they took a test. So most recent in the last 4 weeks, recent diagnostic, or you can customize it. That's how you look at the status. That tells you who has finished it. Normally it'll give you a percentage if they've already started. So you'll get a percentage of how long before they're done. Otherwise, it'll say they haven't started, or if somebody hasn't been assigned a test, theirs will be unassigned and it'll be grayed out. Let's go back into reports. We're going to look at results. Again, you can change the view of these by clicking either one of those, but let's look at results. Right off the bat, it's going to give you the overall view of results. I like to give this a copy of this to the principal, so they see across the board where everybody fits as far as like how YMCA Reads as a whole. It shows their growth when they take their second one, but in the meantime, it shows you where everyone is. I like to give them the initial copy, and then I like to give them the second copy of this after they take that mid-year. That way, it shows the growth. You can print out a PDF version here, or you can do an Excel version, whichever works for you. And then they also have different versions of it, placement levels. And then it shows you the current year, but you can also look at previous years. If you're a vet school, then you'll have this information. If you're not, then you may not. You can also pull by window, change the criteria. Okay. Then you want to click this to get into the full results. That's going to tell you per kid. So where you get your whole roster, and it gives you a general summary of the student information, where they placed, basically what these each mean. As I said before, phonological awareness is not assessed, and it looks like it's second grade is when they stop assessing phonological awareness. So after in sec once they're finished with first grade, they're no longer getting assessed in phonological awareness. So I'll give you a small explanation of what you're supposed to do with that in ounce once we get to that portion. But this is just a summary. It lets you know where they place. So this kid is a second grader? Third grader. This kid is a third grader. And if you look at his information, he's overall placing in second grade. That's how you read that. Overall, he's placing in second grade. For phonics, he's placing in first grade. Vocabulary, he's placing in second grade. So pay attention to these things. You can get more information per student by clicking on their name, but this will give you a general idea of where your students are placing and where they need help. Again, if you click on a student, you'll be able to go to their actual profile, which shows all of their tests and where they place for each of those. And we'll look at that in just a second. Back to reports. Again, you can use this drop-down box to get to any of these things as well. But back to reports, we're going to look at instructional groups. This is basically going to show you per grade where each kid places in as far as instruction. So if you were to group students for additional practice, you'll know that all of these students in grade 2 can be in the same group and not have an issue. If you click on the grouping, it not only brings up the students and tells you where they placed, but it tells you what areas you can practice with those students, what that group already knows, and then what the recommendations are for teaching them next. Her third graders, she's got 2 groups. So she would be able to put all of these students in one group, but these 2 kids, they can get a group that's more challenging. So if you click on theirs, again, it'll tell you where they are. It'll tell you what recommendations they have for teaching and what their priorities are as well. And then those tools of instructions are applied to that. So you'll be able to go and pull extra practice for those specific kids to help them with those areas that they need. So that's how you use instructional groups. Back to reporting, diagnostic growth. This is something you'll use later on after you've taken that second test. You're not going to have that data now. Maybe we can pull, let's see if we can pull last year's stuff for her. Okay, yeah, no, it's not going to pull anything right now. So anything from this year, you won't be able to see the diagnostic growth not until they have finished their mid-year. So when they finish their mid-year, you'll be able to view this information. But basically, it'll show you, it'll compare their initial score to their following score, their mid-year score. All right, so let's go back into our students under results. So diagnostic results. We'll go inside of our class. We're going to select one of our students. And in here, as I said before, once you click on that student's name, you can see their last test automatically defaults there. But you'll be able to see the results for their last test or whatever test is next. There's a drop-down box you can choose. Quick way to switch students here. It's by first name, order by first name. You can print this out PDF here. This is like if you need one student, you can print it from here if you just need their information. I'll show you later how to print multiple students at once. So you don't have to go in and print each student one by one. Diagnostic 2 is not started. It's been assigned. That's how you know if it's been assigned. Also, it'll show here. But all of this information you'll use, it ends up going in ounce. This is the information that we collect. This is also the information we use to help support students based on their iReady scores. This number and bracket is what you'll use in RAS Plus for their reading level, their Lexile level. If you click on these individually, it will tell you exactly where the student is. It tells you right off the bat, this student, because they are in third grade, that they were not assessed for phonological awareness. Phonics, you click on it, it tells you what the student can do already and what standard it meets if you click on the standard. And then it tells you what are the next steps, what do they need next. And if you click this plus sign, it gives you, again, information, reading materials you can use, and how to teach that. It also provides you with a tools of instructions lesson. And that is the case for all of these as you click on them. But while we're here, let's go ahead and pull up ounce and view what we need to enter. So give me 1 second. We're going to do screen 1. I'm going to pull ounce up. Bear with me. All right, we're going to log into our ounce. You should be able to see both my screens. You cannot. Hold on. Share. Okay, now you can see both my screens. I'm logging into ounce. This is the best way to enter information. You can also print out the scores as a PDF, which also will make it really easy to get the scores in. You can copy and paste, but you can also do it per student from here. So we are at Winston. We would go, and this is how you enter in scores into ounce. We'll find our student, and of course her scores are going to already be in for this student. But we'll go into mid-year and use that as an example just so I can show you. So this is our student. iReady assessment. Initial would be how we pull up that student's information for the first one. You can enter in their first scores here. But I'm gonna go to mid-year just so you guys can see a blank one. You always want to go around the time frame of assessment. I can do today. Don't worry if some of your kids did it on the 31st and some of your kids did it on the 30th and some of your kids did it on the 2nd. As long as this date is in here, it's gonna pre-populate anyone who doesn't already have a date, but you can go in and change that. That can be edited. So we're gonna go forward, continue. As I said, it pre-populates that date in for you, but you can change that. All right, now, so let's look at our student. I'm gonna make this a little smaller so you guys can see. Let's find our student's name. Here's our student. We're going to first go to the date, which you can find here. Again, this is just for demo purposes, but I'm not going to save this only because we don't want to mess up Doreen's information. But you would put in the date. Make sure you use 4 digits for the year. Put in the date. The overall score, that is here. You can find that underneath the diagnostic sign. Phonological awareness. We're going to scroll down to find that. That's going to be down here on this bar. Again, this student has not been assessed in phonological awareness. Why? Because they are past the second grade. Um, so they will not be assessed in phonological awareness. So for that, what we're going to do is we're going to take this phonics score and put it here for phonological awareness. And then replicate that score again for phonics. This is the process we're using until we find a new one. They did not used to wipe that score out, but a couple years ago they decided to do that, and we have not quite found a new way to replace that assessment. That literacy task may eventually in the future replace it, but until we figure out how that's going to work and translate into our system, right now this is the process. So if they do not have a phonological awareness score, if it says not assessed, you will duplicate the phonics score. Duplicate the phonics score. All right. For our next one, it will be high frequency. It says surpass level. So if you see surpass level or test it out, what you're going to use is 800. Then you put in for the rest of it, we got vocabulary is 492. You can push the tab button, it'll go over to the next one. 515. Comprehension. So pay attention to this. Pay attention to this. I actually need to take that 515 out. Pay attention to this because what it does is it gives you the overall comprehension score, and then it gives you the literature and score, and then the informational text score. We need the literature score and the informational text score. Let me move this out of the way. We need the individuals, not the overall. So make sure you're paying attention to that number because instead that 530 is going to go here. And then 501. And then the last thing is your Lexile score. You're going to go back to the top. That number is here. Now, inside ounce, it tells you, it gives you a criteria for that if you have a BR. If there's a BR, that BR turns into a negative, and then you put the number behind it. If it's an L, you ignore the L and you just put in the number. So for this particular student, theirs is 545, and that would be their Lexile score. Then you would go down to the bottom, save the record, and it will save the student's information. Now, you can enter more than one student before saving, but keep in mind, ounce times out after a few minutes. So don't do more than 5 before saving. Otherwise, you have to go back and put those same kids back in. So do about 5 of them and then save just to make sure your information is getting in here. And that's how you enter scores into ounce. Never put a 0 unless their score is a 0. If you don't have a score for something, ask. If you're unsure about something, ask. Please do not just enter anything. This is something that we audit, so make sure that this information is being put in properly. All right. We can close out ounce. We're not going to save this. To view these scores back in ounce, to make sure everybody has one in, go to online reports, student progress report. We're going to fill up the screen. This is your student progress report. I normally sort it by day closed. That way we know if the student is an active student or not. And then once the scores are in, they populate here. If you see an NA, that means that student is missing a score. If you gave that student an assessment, it should not say NA, and it also should not say 0. So unless their score is a 0, which I've never seen, there should not be a 0 there. So, or an NA, unless that student did not test. If that student did not test, we need to know why. So make sure you're documenting that. Maybe they started too late. Maybe they started in December, and because normally we stop testing after November for the first window. If they started in December, make sure it's marked. Generally, we can see that here. That's another reason why we sort by the close date. because we know what time when that student started and we know whether that student should have tested or not. If a student has started in August, um, September, October, early November, they should have a test. They should have an initial test. If they do not, that means your data is off and you'll get dinged for it. So keep that in mind, especially if you're getting scores from your school, get those scores as soon as possible and communicate with the school as soon as possible and let them know your windows and find out their windows. If they're testing themselves, you need to know those windows because then you'll know when you'll have your test scores available for you. And you need to know if their test scores are outside of ours, because if they are, then we need to adjust ours. So let us know if that ever happens. But that's where you go to check an ounce if you have all of your information entered in for iReady scores. All right, let's go back to iReady. And we're gonna go and look at reports. So as I said before, you can go in per student. You can look at grade level scaffoldings, groups. You can look at it by class. You can look at benchmarks, where they place in benchmarks. A lot of this stuff is new. A lot of this stuff is new information. So some of our vets may not have seen this. Some of our new people may not have seen this. But these are things you can go in and pull. Excuse me. But this information will just help you to support your students. Go into students, same thing. You can pull that same information, benchmark per student. We don't really use the growth monitoring. You can look at their literacy profile, literacy task. You can find literacy tasks for a specific student, um, results, all of that. You can also find historical results. So if a student has been in the system more than once, this is also why you want to make sure you check to see if your student has already been enrolled once or twice or before entering them in all over again. Because then you can attach their historic data if you connect it to their information. You can also pull the for families information from here per student. So like that page that you would give to their parents after they test, you can get that per student from here. But again, if you want to print one, but we're gonna go into the batch section and I'm gonna show you how to print multiple, because after you test these students, you need a copy in their files. Their parents need a copy. Their teacher needs a copy, and I also give a copy to the parents. Excuse me, the principal. The principal is totally up to you. I like to keep them informed. It's a good way to connect and to share out your information. But um, as long as the teacher gets one, we're okay with that as well. I mentioned before there's a batch queue. This is where you return after you pull a batch. This is a queue you can go back to. But if you're pulling batches of information, first start off with results. You're going to select how you want to print. You can print by grade, you can print by class, you can print by reporting group, or you can print by individual students. So you can select multiple students to view and print a batch. We're going to go into, let's do by grade because I think Doreen has 2 grades. She's got second and third. So if you're doing second and third's printout, or say you have second grade on Tuesday and you want to make sure all of their stuff gets printed out, you click that, click print. You're gonna choose what you want for this. But this depends on who you're printing for. If you're printing for yourself or for the teachers, this is the view you're gonna use. You're gonna use the basic diagnostic printout. Whatever information you need. That first one of the summary automatically gets printed out. I like to also include the Lexile, at least for the files and for handing out to the teachers. If you add these other check boxes, you're going to get a lot more paper, a lot more information, which is not necessarily a bad thing. You can share that information out, but all you need to give is these top two. When you print it, it's going to send it to the batch queue. Um, Again, you can also do the whole class. Print. It's same thing. It's going to ask you what you want. Send it to the batch queue. For families, click here. You can go through the drop-down box. You can also go through the reports drop-down here, but we're going to go from here and click for families. This is going to give you the family version of those same reports. Again, you can do it by class or by grade. We're doing Monday, Tuesday, or we're doing second and third grade. Print. It's going to send it to the batch queue. It's going to ask you if you want skill progress and more information. I like to add that information just for the student, the parent's information. So now let's go look at our batch queue. That pop-up box will show up there. But you can also get to the batch queue from here. Okay, so for families, this is the one we just did. That one's still in progress. It's going to take a few minutes just for them to load, but the other two have been loaded already. If you click on the PDF version, you'll get to see what you get. Continue. Oh, hold on. Okay, boom. So this is the view that you get by PDF. Each individual student's information. I think you end up with a second page worth of information once you do the mid-year, but this is just the initial, so you're only going to get this. This gets printed out. Make sure you don't print two-sided if it's only a single page. That way you don't have two kids' information in the same file. So these are not two-sided, so you're just going to print it and print a copy of these, and it'll go in the student's file, and the teachers will get a copy. I used to write teacher copy on the second one. So one, I would keep track for me knowing if I sent out the teacher copy or not. And then two, the teacher would know that they get to keep it and they don't have to give it to the parent. All right. And then the family one is still loading. I will click this and let you know it does have an expiration. So once you download it, it's not like you have to go back later and delete it. You can. There is a button to delete the report, like if you ran the wrong report or whatnot. You can delete it. Otherwise, it has a time frame and it'll disappear after that, after 95. I think it starts at 96, but 96 hours. But yeah, give it a minute. Yeah, it says right there. Batch will only be available for 96 hours. And then you just have to do it. If you're waiting on the rating on a report and it still says in progress, you can refresh the table and it'll tell you if it's available. Now, for the family one, let's go ahead and look at that really quick. It says right on the top for families, so you know that this is the copy that the families get. Very easy to remember. But it's a little different. You don't see all those different colors. It's not as aggressive, I would say. And the report is, and since we checked that other box, we have 2 pages. This one you can do two-sided. This one you can do two-sided. The only thing I would say is if you have a student that did not finish their test or did not test, there's going to be a blank page with their name on it. So pay attention to that, because if for some reason they don't test and you do two-sided, it's gonna throw off your order if they have a single blank page on there with the student's name on it. So make sure you pay attention to that. It tells you like in the corner how many pages are per report. So pay attention to that and make sure you don't actually accidentally do it two-sided when you got a single kid in there that has only one page. It'll throw off your order. All right. This copy goes to the parents. Parents get this one. We get the other one. Teachers get the other one. Principal gets the other one. All right. And again, you can delete these afterwards if you want. Otherwise, it'll time out and erase on its own. Oh, let's see what else we got in here. I think that's it. Okay, let's look at help really quick. This is where you're going to find all of the support and questions you could ask about iReady. Aside from asking us, you can definitely ask us, but they've got a support connect area. They've got how-to videos. There's also Success Central. This one is really good because it has additional resources for ensuring success. There's iReady success guides. There's a getting started with iReady, and that usually includes like a whole walkthrough of how to use iReady. There's also PowerPoints you can use to teach students about iReady. All of that you can find in the Success Central. Also, there's an online educators learning section where you can take courses. These are helpful. I haven't done any of these courses. I've gone through their other stuff, but this is pretty new. But they have courses in here that you can go and learn about iReady, how to engage students. All of that stuff can be found in here, and they give you the time frame. They tell you who is it for. Most of these are webinars, and you can find those all in here. That's the homepage. They have individual courses here. Time frames and criterias if you're looking. Anything you've already started, courses that you started would show up here. Reports, that's going to be your transcript and what you've completed so far. And then help if you need help, obviously. Support. They have a support line in there. Also within iReady, there is a little AI guy in the corner with FAQs, walkthroughs, and announcements. I think you can also get in contact with their tech support through here. But that's if you need it. What have I not gone through? Profile. So once you're logged in, it tells you who you are. You can view your profile through here. It's not a ton of stuff in the profile, but you can change your password from here. You can change your username. You can change your email. All that can be done through here. Event log. This is just all the stuff that I've been doing. So you can pull your activity log from here as well, what you've done and what you haven't done. Log out is also there. But I think that's the gist of it. I think the only thing we didn't do. No, I think that's it. I showed you where to do your passwords. I think that's everything. All right. Well, if there's anything you saw that you still have questions about, or if there's something that I didn't hit, please feel free to reach out. But that is the gist of iReady. Oh, they even have, hold on. They have fluency practice stuff in here too that you can print out, FYI. Um, but there's tons of stuff in here. Feel free to go in and explore. If you ever need help, again, reach out to me. But that is the end of our iReady 101 training. I'll see you next time.